You've probably seen her on your For You page. A young woman in an orange jumpsuit, smirking and pointing at the camera in a courtroom. The clip went viral, with many calling her strangely captivating, even turning her into a meme. But the story behind that viral moment is far darker and more tragic than most people realize. This is the case of Isabella Guzman, the teenager who committed an unimaginable act against her own mother. What led to this horrifying crime, and why was she smiling in court? Let's unravel the disturbing truth. Isabella Guzman was 18 years old in the summer of 2013, living with her mother, 47-year-old Yunmi Hoy, and her stepfather, Ryan Hoy, in Aurora, Colorado. On the surface, they were a typical family, but underneath, tensions were boiling. Friends and family later reported that Isabella and her mother had a very strained relationship. Arguments were frequent and often intense. According to her stepfather, Isabella had become increasingly disrespectful and threatening towards her mother in the weeks leading up to the incident. Yunmi was growing fearful of her own daughter. She even received an email from Isabella that reportedly said, "You will pay." The day before the tragedy, Yunmi was so concerned that she called the police, asking them to come and talk to Isabella. An officer spoke with Isabella, warning her that her mother could legally evict her if her behavior didn't change. Isabella seemed to calm down, but it was just the quiet before a devastating storm. On the night of August 28, 2013, the peace of their suburban home was shattered forever. Ryan Hoy had just returned home from work. He ate dinner and then went downstairs to relax. A short while later, he heard a loud thumping sound coming from upstairs, followed by his wife calling his name. He rushed up the stairs towards the master bathroom, but the door was locked. Through the door, he could hear a struggle. He pounded on the door, yelling for Isabella to open it. Suddenly, the sound stopped. A moment later, Isabella emerged from the bathroom, holding a knife. She stared blankly at him before walking past him and leaving the house. Ryan pushed the bathroom door open and was met with a scene of absolute horror. His wife, Yunmi, was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. He immediately called 911, but it was too late. Paramedics arrived, but Yunmi Hoy was pronounced dead at the scene. The autopsy would later reveal a shocking level of violence. She had been stabbed 79 times, primarily in the face, neck, and torso. The brutality of the attack was almost incomprehensible. How could a daughter do this to her own mother? A massive manhunt for Isabella Guzman began immediately. The police released her photo to the public, warning that she was armed and dangerous. The community was on high alert. The search lasted for about 16 hours. The next day, police received a tip about a suspicious person hiding in a parking garage not far from the family home. When officers arrived, they found Isabella. She was arrested without incident and taken into custody, charged with first-degree murder. As the case moved to court, everyone expected a straightforward murder trial. But Isabella's defense team took a different path. They entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. This meant her lawyers weren't arguing that she didn't commit the crime, but that she was not mentally responsible for her actions at the time. To support this, they brought in psychiatrists to evaluate her. The results of these evaluations were startling. Multiple doctors testified that Isabella was suffering from severe, undiagnosed schizophrenia. They explained that she had been experiencing powerful delusions and hallucinations for months, if not years. According to the psychiatric reports, Isabella believed her mother was an evil entity named Cecilia who needed to be destroyed to save the world. In her mind, she wasn't killing her mother, she was fighting a demonic force. This diagnosis completely changed the narrative of the case. It wasn't a story of a rebellious teenager lashing out, but a tragic tale of a young woman lost in the grips of a severe mental illness. The court heard how schizophrenia can cause a profound break from reality, making it impossible for the sufferer to distinguish between what's real and what's a hallucination. Based on the overwhelming medical evidence, the judge accepted the insanity plea. This meant Isabella Guzman would not go to prison. Instead, she was committed to the Colorado Mental Health Institute in Pueblo, a secure state psychiatric hospital, for an indefinite period. She would remain there until she was no longer considered a danger to herself or others. Years passed, and the case largely faded from public memory. Then, around 2020, something unexpected happened. A short video clip from one of Isabella's 2013 court hearings surfaced on TikTok. In the clip, she's seen making faces, pointing at her own chin, and smiling calmly while the charges against her are read. The video went viral, racking up millions of views. Many users, unaware of the full context, were captivated by her seemingly nonchalant demeanor. Some even began to romanticize her, commenting on her appearance and turning her into a dark, edgy icon. The song Sweet But Psycho by Ava Max was often paired with the clip, further cementing this distorted public image. This trend sparked significant controversy. Critics pointed out that this romanticization was deeply disturbing, as it completely ignored the brutal reality of what happened to her mother, Yeon Mi-hoy. It also highlighted a dangerous misunderstanding of severe mental illness. Her smiling and odd behavior in court weren't signs of being a cool, detached villain. They were symptoms of her profound psychosis. She was a deeply unwell person, completely detached from the gravity of her situation. The viral moment served as a stark reminder of how easily context can be lost on social media, turning a tragic story of mental illness and violence into a fleeting, misunderstood trend. So, where is Isabella Guzman now? She remains at the Colorado Mental Health Institute in Pueblo. Since her commitment, she has been undergoing intensive psychiatric treatment, including medication and therapy. In November 2020, 7 years after the crime, Isabella requested to be released from the hospital. In a virtual hearing, she told the judge that she was no longer a danger to anyone. She stated that she was in control of her symptoms thanks to her treatment and expressed remorse for her actions. She said, "I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to my full self." Her doctors supported her claim, testifying that her schizophrenia was in remission, but they could not guarantee she would continue to take her medication if released. The court considered her request, but ultimately denied it. The judge acknowledged her progress, but cited the extreme violence of the crime and the ongoing need to ensure public safety. The court ruled that she would need to remain at the facility for further treatment and monitoring. Her case is reviewed periodically, but as of today, she has not been granted release. The story of Isabella Guzman is a heartbreaking cautionary tale. It's a story about the devastating impact of untreated mental illness, the loss of a mother at the hands of her daughter, and the strange, often unsettling, nature of internet fame. It reminds us that behind every viral clip, there's a real story, and often, it's far more complex and tragic than a 15-second video can ever convey. It also underscores the critical importance of mental health awareness and accessible treatment. If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health, please know that help is available and there is hope for recovery. Reaching out to a professional is a sign of strength. Thank you for watching. It's important to discuss these difficult topics with empathy and understanding. If you found this video informative, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into complex cases. Stay safe and take care of each other.